loves, it's Tatiana Vogt here, and today we're going to be doing a book review and Once Upon a Book Club unboxing for The Last Piece by Imogen Clark. Now, the first part of this review is going to be completely spoiler-free. I will also be doing a spoiler warning once we go into the latter half of the video where I give a more in-depth review discussing specific details and my thoughts on the book. So this is a book about the relationships of this family, their insecurities, their secrets, and the simple interactions between them, along with the idea of motherhood. I personally felt like the characters were pretty relatable, and I really enjoyed the dynamics between the different characters and kind of how that affected the way that they interacted with each other. Admittedly, I wanted more of that and wished it was focused more on that aspect versus a secret that we're trying to uncover. Because the story is broken up into two different storylines, or two main storylines, I felt like we weren't able to dive as deep into the characters as much as I would have liked, regardless of the fact of that being the main focus of the first portion of the story. And because of that, I feel like I didn't really get a deep connection with any of the characters. That being said, I absolutely enjoyed the book while I was reading it and felt interested enough that I wanted to keep reading and find out what happened. At several times as I was reading this, I was sure this was going to be a 5-star book for me, but once I kind of got to the end with how some things laid out, it ended up being a 4 stars, which is still pretty high, and I'm still pretty happy with the book overall. I personally wasn't super happy with the conclusion, which I will talk more about in the actual spoiler version of this, but I don't think that really took away from the experience. I started reading this on a Saturday night pretty late, and the next morning I just devoured the whole thing and completed the book in almost a single sitting. I will admit there are several secrets throughout the story that I felt were pretty predictable. I guessed all of them fairly easily, but I don't actually think that took away from the actual story, and I don't think knowing those secrets will affect the way you experience it, although I will not mention any of those for obvious reasons for those of you who may be interested in trying to discover them for yourself. That being said, I'm pretty sure it's clear that I enjoyed this book and would recommend it, especially if you're interested in family dynamics and the social pressures of motherhood. Now it's time for the Once Upon a Book Club unboxing. In this case, none of the quotes or items are spoilers, so you can watch the unboxings without finding out anything important to the story. For those of you who don't know what the subscription box is, for $34.99 plus shipping, which in my case was $10, you get a unique reading experience. I actually have a $5 off referral link, which I'll have linked down in the description box if you're interested in checking this out. Mine arrived in a plastic mailer bag with one of the items on the outside because, as you can see, you can't really fit the book and the last item in, so they kind of just put this one on the outside. This is the book. You always get either a paperback or hardcover book, a 5x7 quote print, and 3 to 5 corresponding gifts that match with a quoted item in the book. So for this month, the gifts are as follows. I did actually open these up already while I was actually reading the book, so as you can see, I attempted to re-wrap this last one. The other ones were pretty easy, so can't really tell. So this month I ended up getting 4 gifts, 3 physical and 1 paper. There's usually one of them is a paper-based. Then obviously the book itself, the quote print, and then this month there was also a letter from the author, which I thought was really nice, and I read after the fact. You also get some sort of pamphlet or insert from the subscription box itself, and it gives you information about the read-along dates along with the discussion questions, which are spoilery, so I will be going through those in the spoilery section of this review. But otherwise, it is pretty nice. I will say that there seems to be a misprint on this one. This is the August box. I received this on August 1st, but the dates are from last month, so I think they just forgot to update the dates. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the overview. Now let's actually unbox these bad boys and let you know what I got. So the first item is on page 47, and it says, she pulled the photograph out. It was upside down, so she turned it over. The image made her start, and she let out a little gasp. It was a simple, uncluttered picture, a single bed covered with a white cotton counterpane, and sitting on that, a box about the size of a shoebox. It was decorated all over with pictures of yellow roses, cut from wallpaper, faded now, and curling in places near the edges, but otherwise looking well cared for, considering its age. So that's our paper item for the month. Then on page 97, put it down, darling, it's hot, Felicity said shrilly, standing to take it from him. But Hugo, anxious to show how very capable and grown he was, turned quickly away from her and sent the cafetiere knocking onto Richard's leg. So I don't know how to pronounce this contraption, as it is French. I apologize, but I think you get the idea. Here is the second item, and then on page 186, as the bus beetled through the narrow streets to pick other passengers up, Cicely found her sunglasses in her bag and put them on. She held the clean tissue to her face, but with a gargantuan effort, she found that she was able to contain her emotion. So we've got a little thing of tissues with a quote that says, they had no idea how strong she could be. Again, the quote from this spot. Then there's a case that has the same quote on it, and a pair of sunglasses and a little sunglass microfiber cloth. Okay, and last but not least, we have page 304. Cicely saw that there was indeed a complete picture of the Monument Valley sitting on her table. There we go. Okay, so this month I'm really happy with the items included in the box. I mostly get the box for the experience. The items are just icing on the cake. The only item I was a little bit disappointed with was the paper item. I know the paper items they're paper items that are made to fit the story, so it's not that this is what the item was. It was just I kind of wish it was something that had like something written on the back, like, you know, like to so-and-so, or like a date or something. That wouldn't have been true to the story, so this is actually perfect with the actual item in the book. It was kind of bummer that it just didn't have more to it. That's not the box's fault. It just kind of worked out that way. Aside from that, all of the items are actually really nice. I got a jigsaw puzzle. Tissues are a little bit lame, but the main thing were these glasses, which I find very cute, surprisingly. I was really nervous when I realized that it was going to be a pair of sunglasses. I thought that they were probably going to be hideous. And then I think this is pretty nice because I don't have one, and although I'm not a coffee drinker, it doesn't hurt to have something like this, so when I have guests over who drink coffee, they have an option. So these are the 4 items that I got. Again, pretty happy. I don't love the quote. I don't know why either, because like the quote itself seems like it should be cool. I think the design is cute, but I don't know. I guess it just, don't know, for some reason I don't really love it. But other than that, really happy with what was actually included in this month. All right, now is time for the spoiler part of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and do let me know what you thought of the video so far. Otherwise, let's get into this deep dive. So now we get into the nitty-gritty details, and as you can see, I've laid out the contents of the box just to kind of showcase in the background, you know, getting fancy here. So I'm going to go over my thoughts on some of the details throughout the book along with the ending. As I mentioned, I enjoyed this book. Now, although I cannot relate to the need to be a mother, the fact that Felicity needed to be seen as this strong, independent, successful figure who has her shit together when deep down she's dealing with insecurities regarding her siblings along with her husband's infidelity made for a really realistic character. Knowing about the insecurities that she had regarding her sisters kind of explained why she wasn't really telling them what was going on, even though it was pretty clear that she wanted to. And I liked having that insight and kind of understanding, and it made her actions, like I said, just a little bit more understandable than you would get otherwise. Now, Lily's struggle with being born a preemie and having some mental development disadvantages and feeling like she lost out on a lot of opportunities and wasn't able to succeed the same way her sisters did kind of hit me in the feels, especially when she was at home searching for online classes she could take for different job opportunities and kind of calling out what her sisters were doing and how she couldn't do anything like that. And just knowing how, I don't know, I feel like that was a really nice touch. And again, I felt a little bit emotional in that moment because it seemed like her sisters really looked up to her for what she's able to accomplish with all of the kids in her life. Although I will say Felicity did seem to kind of down talk her ability to really, right? So I felt like that was a little bit weird, because it was clear that you were getting the feeling that the two sisters really respected Lily's ability to take care of 5 boys. But then in the very beginning, Felicity was all like, no, she can't watch my kid because he would become, you know, a feral child with no manners or something like that. I didn't enjoy that as much because I really liked that aspect of showcasing how a lot of our insecurities are incorrect, but regardless, they still made it clear that the two sisters acknowledged all of the hard work that goes into being a parent, and then also having Felicity constantly talk about how difficult her one child is kind of hit home the importance of being a mother in this scenario. Now, that being said, I think it's pretty clear that I really enjoyed the 3 sisters and the dynamics between them and the interactions between them and how it kind of just played on the insecurities that they have in a sort of subtle, maybe not super subtle way, but it flowed really nice, and I didn't feel like it was, oh, I'm insecure of my sisters and because of this reason, and then, you know, a little bit later being all like, oh, this reason is happening and it showcases my insecurities. Instead, you were taught that thing and then you saw it in action, and the character didn't react in a way that was like obvious that it made them uncomfortable, but you can tell because of what you knew, there was more to those interactions because of that information. And I really, really enjoyed that and really wanted more of it. So much more. That was my favorite part of the story. Now, the mother's backstory and the baby home, although interesting, felt long and out of tune with the book's initial flow. I felt like if this was supposed to be the main focus of the story, the first half of the book should have supported that a little bit more. I almost felt like I was reading two different things, and although both of those were interesting, I feel like because of how it was structured, neither was really given the love and care that they deserved, and instead I ended up with two stories instead of one yes story. And please keep this in mind that I really enjoyed this book regardless, but that is how it kind of felt, especially after thinking about it after the fact and, you know, taking a deep dive so that I can have this kind of conversation with you. Another thing that probably would have worked is if both of the storylines, the individual issues that each of the sisters were having and the big story that the mother were having were connected a little bit more. Like if you could see the struggles a little bit more. I feel like they tried to do that with this idea of motherhood, but I don't think that was a strong enough thread to really make them feel connected in the way that I would have liked. Then you get to the idea of the mysteries in this story. So basically you had Cicely having a child that she's going to see, Julia wanting to have a baby, and Marnie being gay were all super obvious. Like, I don't feel like there was any mystery behind them at all. I did think it was a nice touch having Marnie being gay, because I feel like representation is always nice, but it almost felt like it was supposed to be a secret, like a thing that you find out and you're like, you know? And admittedly, it didn't matter. Knowing these mysteries didn't stop me from wanting to dive deep into the why behind these mysteries. So I don't really think it was an issue that they were all really obvious, but I did feel like that wasn't the intention, and it was something that I felt like should be called out. Now, the one thing that really bothered me, and the reason why I lowered the rating as the story went on, was Marnie's rudeness to the family. Now, at first it seemed understandable under the circumstances, although a little bit extreme. I understand that people deal with things in different ways. But once we got to the ending, where we learned that Marnie basically stalked the family for 30 years, it wasn't understandable to me anymore, especially the way that her stalking was presented. She displayed photographs of them as her family in a spare room in her home. And yet, when she finally got the chance to interact with them, these people that she knew who didn't know her, she was unnecessarily an asshole. And Sophia's warning early on that Marnie wasn't particularly good at expressing herself didn't really fit. I felt like the rudeness was it was over-exaggerated. It was a little bit on the extreme side. And I didn't mind her being a rude character. I just felt like it was pushed a little bit too much to the point of unnecessary uncomfortableness that didn't actually match up with what we learned later on. I would have preferred if we were getting her point of view during the story as well, but in a way that still kept it a mystery of who she was and why she felt certain things. So just giving us information in the now while hinting at some other things I think would have been nice, and possibly would have made the ending a little less jarring and abrupt and nonsensical to me. Now, I feel like it's important for me to mention that I wasn't looking for a happy ending. That's not what made me upset with the ending or dislike the ending. I thought, in all honesty, that the idea of Marnie not wanting to be integrated into the family was perfectly fine, especially in the middle when that was brought up as an option by Sophia. You have to give her, you know, space and let her figure it out and things like that. And I felt like that was nice, and there are a lot of different ways that could have played out that would have made more sense. I feel like The stalking aspect was also very interesting and sort of understandable. You go to meet your family for the first time, your biological family for the first time. You get cold feet, you see them, you don't know how to feel about it, so instead you keep coming back and just watching them from afar, afraid that you're not going to be accepted or fit in or whatever. That's understandable. I kind of get it. But I feel like how everything played out, it just didn't make sense for her to all of a sudden be like, this has meant so much to me for 30 years and now I'm just over it. I'm really interested in hearing what other people thought about the ending and how that kind of played with the whole story, and what did you think about the sisters dynamic and things like that. Like, I really want to know. Anyway, we should probably move on to the question section. I'm pretty sure this video is extra long, and I do think it will be fun to go through the actual book club questions. Okay, so the first question. Cicely, whose children can't remember her even being remotely spontaneous, disappears to a Greek island with no warning or explanation. Would you consider yourself spontaneous? What would your family think if you did something like this? Now, I did write some notes down. I'm also not spontaneous. I feel like people would be a little bit surprised about that. Question number 2. Who were your favorite characters? Who were your least favorite characters and why? So my favorite character would probably be Julia and her best friend. I did really like that dynamic. I love the idea of Julia wanting to be a single mother and having her gay best friend be the father of her child. And I loved even more when it actually happened and they basically both were parenting this kid even though they weren't in a romantic relationship. It's like me and my best friends have a child together, but we're not interested in each other in that way, but we're supportive and we're there, and you know, there's that connection. I thought that was sweet. I also liked Sophia. I thought she was really nice, but I also feel like she wasn't a big part of the story. My least favorite character is just Marnie. Honestly, I feel like everyone else was okay. I didn't really love them, but Marnie I actually disliked, which was sad because I really wanted to like her. I tend to like characters that are a little bit like misunderstood and things like that, but I feel like we didn't get anything to humanize her. We didn't know enough about her to make her a human. We only got a small snippet of more from the interaction with her dogs, but I don't think it was enough to, like I said, really humanize her and explain her actions and things like that. So I was pretty disappointed with that. Question number 3. The characters in this novel find that choices can make a great impact on the life you lead. What was a choice you made that you're proud of or happy with the results, or has made your life better today? I will say the biggest things, the decisions that I have made were all kind of no-brainer situations. So I actually struggled with this one, which I feel like was kind of embarrassing when I think about it. I guess if I had to say something, it would be going to art school. I feel like that had a big impact of my life. Where I am today has everything to do with the school that I went to. I got the job directly from the school, technically. I got a lot of opportunities because of that. I met a lot of amazing people. I have 2 friends that I'm still really close with from college, and you know, a few acquaintances still. Yeah, I feel like that was an amazing time, and it did a lot with my life. So that's probably one of them, but I admit that's also was kind of a no-brainer for me. So it doesn't really feel like a big choice that I had to make. Question number 4. If you were Marnie, would you have forgiven Cicely? Based off of all of the information provided by the story, yes. I feel like there was no real reason for Marnie to not forgive Cicely, but I would give her a chance. I would forgive her enough to try and work things out and make things work and things like that. Like, I would understand no matter how upset I might be, I feel. I understand that not everyone would, but I feel like the book should have given us more of an explanation as to why. You know, like I said, based off of the information we were given, I just don't think it made sense that she didn't, you know, again, stalking for 30 years. Like, Question number 5, the final question. In the end, Marnie and Cicely's relationship is clearly not meant to be. What are your thoughts on this, and how did this ending make you feel? Like I said, I don't mind that their relationship wasn't meant to be. I personally find that kind of stuff interesting. I think even under the circumstances that could have been the case, but I feel like the way it ended was just too abrupt. I feel like based off of what we learned, and if I would love to hear your opinions and like whether or not you agree, but I feel like based off of what we learned, Marnie, who was dedicated enough to spend 30 years stalking this family and who decided that it was finally time for her to connect with them and try and make things work and learn more and figure out the reasons why, would have put in more effort, right? I feel like she wouldn't have been as rude as she was. Again, maybe snarky, maybe, you know, snide remarks here and there that kind of showcased it, how hurt she was or something like that. I feel like that kind of stuff would have made more sense. But I still don't get why, if you consider someone your family and you have 30 years with them, that you would be so quick to drop them. I don't know, it just seems so weird. I wish I had her point of view to explain a little bit more why all of that information was there and she decided that she was just gonna give up like this, you know? Like, I know that they had time pass, but there wasn't enough interaction between. There wasn't, like, it was all like, oh, a lot of time passed and then I see you for the second time, and then a lot of time passed and then I'm just over it. I don't know, it was weird. So yeah, just realistically, I feel like it would have been more gradual. So that's my opinion on it. I don't have a problem with the choice to have it not work out in the end. I just have a problem with the execution and the way everything was kind of set up and laid out, not kind of fitting with that decision or the execution. So that's my case. Again, I really enjoyed the book, so all of these criticisms are not a comment on how much I enjoyed or didn't enjoy. It's more of a, when looking back and really like analyzing the book, like there were some holes in it and some of them bothered me quite a bit, clearly. So I figured I'd mention it, and I thought it would be interesting. Especially, it's nice kind of talking about some of the gripes that you have with the book that you actually enjoy versus a book that you just don't like, that doesn't like suit you or doesn't fit, you know, your interests or something. Like, I really enjoyed this book and these are my thoughts about it. On the negative side, again, there are a lot of things that I liked with the book. And my biggest thing that I enjoyed was the dynamic between the sisters. I did think the story of Cicely's experience with the baby home was interesting. You know, like, I wanted to find out and learn more. I just felt like overall everything wasn't as connected as I wanted it to be. All right, so that is my review and unboxing of the Once Upon a Book Club subscription box featuring The Last Piece by Imogen Clark. I really hope you enjoyed this. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the book. Did you enjoy it? Did you get it from the Once Upon a Book Club subscription box? Do you like that? Like, let me know down below. Again, I do have a referral link, which I will include in the description box. Otherwise, I do really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video. Until next time, bye.